So I just recently got a chance to play around with Claude Code, and so far I think it's pretty amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and just do a live coding session using Claude Code and kind of walk you through some of the things I learned. I will say I haven't been using it for too long, so there's some features that I don't even know about yet. But I'm going to show you how cool it is to use Claude Code and how easy it is to start adding features to an existing application. So we have this video suggestion site, which I currently have hosted. So the first feature I want to try adding is if I'm an admin of the system, I want to be able to come in here and edit these tags and like delete specific ones, and that should go through all my ideas and unlink them from the tags. So like for example, chatbot. If I were to go and delete the chatbot tag somewhere, it should go down and delete anything that says chatbot. So I already have a $20 Claude subscription, and once you have that, you can just install this Anthropic AI Claude Code in your terminal or wherever you want. And then once you do that, you should have access to start running it. I'm just going to run it in this VS Code terminal because I find it to be the easiest for my setup. But you can also install like an extension, I believe. But once you have a terminal of your choice, you can just say Claude, and then that will spin up a Claude Code instance. Now, I've already ran Claude Code once, but it does recommend that you run an init command over your project, and that's basically going to, index your code base and try to understand what you're building, and then it's going to document everything. So let's just going to do /init here, and I'll press enter. And that should create a MD file that describes what this project is so that it can kind of make some progress in the future on it. Now, some cool things about Claude Code is that it will generate to-do items. And as it's going through and modifying your code and trying to execute on the plan, you'll see these to-do items basically get crossed off the list, and eventually everything will be done. Okay? You can see here it's basically reading through all my files. And then it's also, what's pretty cool about it is it tells you how many tokens it's using. So if you're really like token aware, you can really save on token costs and get better at prompting. Now, often, if it's the first time running Claude Code in your terminal, it's going to ask you for permission to edit files and run commands. So I'm just going to say yes and do it. Like, don't ask again. Just go ahead and do it all. But every new terminal instance, you do have to basically grant it permission to do that stuff. So it's done initializing the Claude MD file. If you scroll through here, you'll see that it has just a bunch of like commands that it documented that I can use in this application locally. It has the project structure set up. It has some like examples of the server functions we're using, where and what port this thing runs on. It's just a little bit of information just to help Claude progress a little bit faster. Okay, so the second command you should learn is clear. So that's just going to get rid of all the context so you have a fresh new chat every single time, which is pretty nice. And we're going to try to actually implement that browse tag feature. So one thing you can do is if you do a shift tab, you can switch or cycle between the modes. There's a auto accept mode, which is basically goes through your code and modifies files. There's a plan mode if you want something to help you plan out the feature you're trying to add in. Maybe you're not descriptive enough and Claude can help guide you like what it needs to do. And then I don't really know what mode this is, so you guys can let me know in the comments if you do know. But we're going to try plan mode first and just see how it works. So I want to add a feature so that as an admin, I can manage my tags and delete them. This should go through all existing ideas and also delete those tags from them. Let's kick this off, and it should walk us through like a planning guide. Sometimes it'll ask you questions like, hey, do you want to do this or that? Or does it sound good if we do this? We'll see what it kind of does. So right now it's researching how I currently implement tags on my system. You can see it reading the schema file. Now, usually I don't even use the plan mode. I just use the auto accept mode because as you can tell, it takes a lot longer to like traverse your code and try to understand it. And then it has to generate the plan. Typically, I give it a lot of context and I tell it what components it should modify. So for example, I know I have a component called the tag browser and I want to probably put an edit button here that switches this to like an edit mode where I can go through and click on tags and delete them or something. But for the sake of this video, let's just let it figure out a good way. Sometimes you can even say like, hey, you're an expert at user experience in graphic design. Can you design this whole thing for me? So let's go through here and try to figure out what it's going to do. So the first thing, it's going to add a delete tag function, which is an admin endpoint, and it deletes the tag and all of its associations. It uses the isAdmin middleware for authorization. It has a transaction to delete both tag junction table and tag table. Return success. Okay. And then we also have a get all tags admin function, admin endpoint to get all the tags with detail info. Okay, so I'm not sure if it's going to try to make a new endpoint, create an admin tag management page. Okay, I guess that's fine. I'll let it just kind of do that. Now, I would kind of hope that would link to this page from my admin dashboard. So I may actually have it plan a little bit more. I'm going to say, are you linking to this new page from the tag browser? Maybe just add an edit tags link or button. There. Now, one thing you can do is you can actually tag components. So if you actually know your code base, which you hopefully do, you can actually tag whatever component that you want, very similar to the cursor there. I'm going to run this, and I do believe that's going to like use the existing plan, take my changes, and recalculate the plan. Okay, so at this point, it probably added an additional user flow there. So we're just going to go ahead and say yes, and auto accept edits, and just let it go through the code base and make those changes. Now, the workflow I would recommend having when you're using Claude Code or agentic coding is just have your Git diff tools open. And after you prompt and it makes a good amount of changes and you verify those in the UI, like just add them. Add those changes in so that when your next prompt is made, it'll kind of like keep those changes separate and you can easily revert them or roll them back if you don't like them. Like, I don't think Claude Code has checkpoints like Cursor does or some other agentic coding tools, but this is fine enough, right? Typically, you implement some features, they're good, you stage them, or you can actually stage them and commit them. That's probably the better approach, is stage and commit. But for the sake of this video, I think I'll just keep on adding them to my stage environment. Now, another thing I want to point out is that although I am using Claude Code for the agentic coding, I still use Cursor, because I think the tab completion with Cursor is really good. And often you do need to dive into the code to manually modify things. And sometimes it's just faster. If you just want to tweak a little bit of styling or tweak some text, it's much faster to just go to like the tag browser and then find an edit button and then just change the text versus you having to ask an agentic tool to do it for you. Like, don't get too lazy. Every prompt you do costs you tokens, and every request, I think you're limited like so many every 5 hours or something. So you do want to also figure out, before you prompt, is this something you can just quickly modify yourself? And you can see like some of these prompts take up to like 2 to 3 minutes. So you're going to be sitting here waiting for it to implement these changes when you could probably have just done it yourself. So keep that in mind. I think that's a really good tip when you're using agentic coding. Another cool thing, which I may demo, is you can have multiple Claude terminals running at once. So like I could make 3 other Claude terminals, and while it's trying to implement changes on one page, I could have another terminal that's accessing the landing page, and then another terminal that's modifying, I don't know, my admin dashboard or page or something. I'm not sure how well it does when it deals with conflicts, so that could be something that you might run into if you try to have a feature that's touching multiple pages at the same time. That might break, but from what I've seen, if you're just really good at like scoping down the changes to a particular route or component, you can kick off a bunch of these at once, and it's really, really nice. Now, most of the stuff I'm talking about with Claude Code, Cursor has as well. And it seems like Cursor is pushing out changes every day to keep up with all these other features that like Claude Code and Klein and whatever else might be adding. So don't think that Claude Code is like necessarily better than Cursor. The main reason I decided to start using Claude was because I ran out of the Sonnet 4 LLM requests for Cursor, and I wanted to keep using it because I do think it is the best model. The auto mode in Cursor is pretty good, but it's pretty obvious that Claude 4 Sonnet is still king, and so I think using Claude Code gives you access to more requests with the best models. Anyway, let's just go through. This isn't really a comparison video with Cursor. Maybe I'll make a separate one for that. But yeah, it's asking us, do we want to run this command? I definitely recommend reading this. I think it's just searching through all of my stuff, trying to find a mutate. Yeah, let's just go ahead and let it run that, I guess. I don't need it to run my dev server because it's already like running. So I'm going to say no. And then I'm just going to press escape. You can actually just cancel. Like, I think it's done. So like just escape, and then we can go ahead and go back to the UI. And so if you look at the UI, we have an edit tags button now. If I click it, takes us to an admin tag management page, which is pretty cool. And I can go through here and I can see, okay, what tags do I have and what ideas are attached to them. I have 10 ideas attached to AR. Let's try deleting it. I'm going to delete it. Nice. We got a nice little confirmation modal. Click it. That tag is gone. If I go back to my ideas, let's search for AR and see if it even shows up. Okay, it doesn't. So that tag is gone. It's been deleted from my system. I would recommend looking through the code. So like delete tag function. Is this doing what it should? Does it have authentication set up? I am using the is_admin middleware, so that's good. And then it checks and gets all the tags from the database. And then in a transaction, it's going to try to delete all the tags that match that tag ID, and then also deletes the tag itself. So I think this code's pretty good. Always review your code, especially when it deals with the backend code. Like if it's making a TANstack server function or an API endpoint, make sure the authentication's added in. Make sure there's some type of validation going on with the body request or the payload. And then also I want to make sure that the person who tries to go to admin/tags, they need to be an admin. So like if they're not, it just says access denied. So that's pretty good. We could actually try to check that out too, which I think if I go over here, I can say /admin/tags. It does show access denied really quick, and then it shows the page. That's something I would probably tweak to make a little better user experience, but I think it's good enough. Let's just add these changes. And again, if this was like me doing a real workflow, I would have committed those with a nice message, and then I would have moved on to the next feature. But we're not. So we're going to go back, and we're going to try to just clear out this whole console. And I want to demo another cool feature, which you can do in Claude Code. You can actually make something called agents. So if you type in /agents, you can actually enter an agent creation management mode. So we're going to create a new agent for this project. And I'm going to pick the generate with Claude. Basically, it's going to take like your one sentence you type in, and it's going to make a nice agent document for you. You can make the whole document yourself if you want to, like go into your file browser, go to Claude, and just like modify it. But we are going to make a new agent, and I'm going to say, you are an expert software engineer who should review and refactor code when asked to refactor code. Okay, let's just run this, and you'll see it's going to start kicking off and generate a new agent file. And then after some time, we should see that agent file pop up over here. Okay, I'll pick Sonnet for the default. You can pick a color. So like I'm just going to go ahead and pick red. Why not? And then you'll see that it generates this code refactoring expert. And you can kind of tag it in your prompts in the future with the @ symbol. I can say @code refactoring expert. And then it has a description that says what the agent is doing. And then here's a system prompt that it uses. So like I could basically say enter to save it. And then the code will pop up down here. And here you see. We can basically modify this by hand if you want to tweak it. But now that we have it, I want to go ahead and see if there's anything in this application that it could probably refactor. So let's test out that agent. I'm going to try to refactor the top level route because it's kind of complex. If you look at it, it's like almost 200 lines of code. Maybe it's not the cleanest. So we could ask this agent if it could just refactor it. So I'm going to say refactor the, and I'll tag the index page right here with the, and I'll say code refactoring, agent code refactoring, right? And you can see it's kind of like colored in red, so you can quickly spot it. I think you can actually just say agent, right? And then you can find it. And then we're going to go ahead and just do it and see what happens. The nice thing about the color coding is that you can see when it kicked in with an agent, because sometimes you don't even have to like tag the agent to make it do the work. If your system prompt was descriptive enough, it can just kick in and start using your refactoring agents. I've made an agent for like a UX graphic design agent who's really good at restyling applications. I've made an agent that's good for keeping up with a devlog. So like after I make changes, you can have it generate a devlog entry and put it in an MD file somewhere. The whole devlog suggestion was from a stream last night. But the cool thing about these agents is you can literally like probably go and find agents online. You just like copy them to your code base. So you can like use other people's agents who probably have spent a lot more time crafting them and making them better. Or if you like capitalism, you could probably make a whole package on Gumroad and sell a bunch of agents for people to use that make your coding experience much better for like $10 or whatever. So this whole thing is a pretty cool concept, which I'm guessing most of these other AI coding tools will basically grab at some point. Okay, so down here, it looks like it's trying to check if there's any TypeScript errors. I'll just say yes. All right, so as it's like refactoring code, I think I might just go check out what it's doing. So basically here was the original file. It pulled the idea skeleton out to another file. That's good. I don't think it needs to really live here. And then you can see it basically pulled out a ton of stuff and put it into a custom hook. So again, I think that's use idea filtering, use tag selection. I think that's pretty good. And overall, I mean, this file looks a lot more simplistic. We have an idea grid now. And that's what's in charge of basically showing all the idea cards. The use idea filtering, that's what's responsible for knowing what your search terms are and changing how the filters are kind of working. Oh, also the selected tags. Okay, so it kind of like consolidated all the code that's related. Again, cohesion. Stuff that's related should be put into the same file if possible. So I think it's actually doing a really good job refactoring this code. Let's see if the application is broken. We can still like stuff. We can still delete stuff. We can filter by tags. Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's all working pretty well. Yeah, let's just go ahead and add those changes as well. And now we have a nice refactored index file. All right, I think I'm going to clear this console, and we are going to do one more feature. And I want the ability as an admin to mark an idea as published. So like I want in the idea card, I want a button where I can click it. Maybe that shows a modal where I can enter a URL of a YouTube video so that then I can like have other people see if I publish the video or not. And then when they log in, they could basically toggle between new ideas and published ideas. So we're going to go here. I'm going to try to type all that out. And I'm going to be very specific. Again, this is how I typically do my workflows with agentic coding is if you know what you want, you should probably tag it. So on the idea card, please, I don't even say please, add a button for allowing the user to mark an idea as published. Update the schema to include a new is published boolean. Also include a video URL string. When a user clicks this button, show a dialog with a optional input which they can type their YouTube video into. Add a toggle that lets the user switch between new ideas and published ideas. Show the, or if it's a published idea, show a link they can click to open the video in a new tab. And I think that should be good. Let's just kick it off. And let's see if it can kind of do that. So again, the more specific you are with your prompts and your context, and the better you know your code base, you're going to save tokens on the long run, and you're going to get more accurate results from the LLM. If you don't have a good idea of how to like prompt AI, that's when you should probably use the plan mode. It's going to take you a little bit longer because it has to do all that extra planning. But I have found a lot of good results just doing the auto accept. Like I can typically one-shot all my features and bug fixes for small scale projects. So I think let's check out what it's trying to do. So update the database schema to add an is published boolean and a video URL string. Create publish idea dialog component with an optional URL input. Add publish button to idea card component with dialog integration. Create server function. So basically all those things that I just said, it just created a to-do list for them and it's going through them one by one. Now, I think one important thing I want to point out here is that you can actually add the word think, or you can say think hard, or you can say think harder, or ultra think, which can use more tokens, but it helps the LLM plan better. I'm not sure if this is only for plan mode. It probably might be, but I think if you're trying to solve a really hard bug, you can try to just add ultra think to the prompt, and it may do a much better job at solving it. But for the most part, I've been one-shotting a lot of features. I've never used the word think on any of my prompts. I'm not sure how useful that is. But yeah, go check out the Claude Code best practices from Anthropic. Probably important if you want to actually get good at what you're doing. Maybe I'll make a video to read through this whole thing if I start using Claude Code seriously. It might be kind of useful. All right, looks like it's at the building stage. Here are all the changes that I made. The most important things I would look at is the schema changes. So we have the is public and the video URL. Is published, not null, defaults to true. Okay, that looks good. Anything else? The functions. So get idea function. This whole SQL query, I should probably refactor at some point. It looks terrible. All right, I think it's done. Let's go back to our app. And then I want to make sure if I click on this, it allows me to put a YouTube URL. All right, let's just paste in a YouTube URL. I'm going to say mark as published. And now I can click on publish and I can filter down just to see that one that was published. I can watch the video and it takes me straight to my channel with that live stream I did. And I'm not sure why it just went away. That's kind of interesting. Let me refresh. So there is an error when I'm trying to publish the idea. It's saying that the idea is not found or authorized. I'm just going to go to wherever we publish the idea, publish idea function. And I want to look at this. Video URL is optional. And we check to make sure we're authenticated. We are updating, setting the publish URL to true, the video URL. If existing idea length or length of user ID is not equal to the context, idea not found or not authorized. So it's failing here. And yeah, I don't think this is what we want. We don't want is authenticated. We want is admin. That's it. That's all we have to do. We don't have to get an existing idea. We don't have to do that. So I think I probably didn't prompt it too well, but I think this should probably fix it. Let's go back and check. I'm going to go to new ideas here, click on this, get my URL, mark it as published, go back, and it's been good. I can watch the video, refresh, and it shows up in the publish tab. And there you have it. So again, if you do know how to code, you can quickly fix issues, because I probably would have had to wait another 60 seconds for that to fix it. It was a really, really simple fix. Basically, it was calling the wrong middleware function, but this is probably a prompting error. I probably didn't say, make sure that only an admin can publish these. And so with that, because of that strange little error it added to the backend, I would assume, or I would wonder if we are not logged in, if I sign out, I wonder if that still shows up. No, it got that right. So I think it's just that one little hiccup that it had, which you're going to get with using an LLM. So it doesn't replace coding. You still got to know how to code eventually, because you probably will have to dive into the code base. But yeah, that's my overall with Claude Code so far. I mean, I'm going to keep my subscription because I think it's pretty good. And I'm also going to keep my cursor subscription because I like the tab completion and I like to be able to actually code sometimes. So if you guys have watched this far in the video, leave any tips and tricks below that can help me become better at using Claude Code. I'd be curious to hear you guys' tips, and also just everyone else who's watching this video can see them and read them as well. Other than that, have a good day and happy agentic coding.